Like, share and subscribe for more great villain revealed content. Today we discuss if Joker is really the villain? The Joker is a complicated character. His crimes are not fueled by desire for money, ambition, or other ordinary motifs. The terror he spreads is ideological and his motivations are philosophical. Let's start by exploring his origin story. The classic one, revealed in the brilliant comic, The Killing Joke, is that he was a failed comic trying to make ends meet to support his life with his pregnant wife. He joins a bunch of crooks operating as the Red Hood gang to make easy money. Before the day of the heist, his wife and unborn child die in an accident. He is forced to commit the crime and in the middle of it is met by the Batman. Startled, he falls into a vat of chemicals in the factory where the crime is taking place and washes up outside the factory rendered insane. It's a pretty traumatic set of incidents that get him going to where he eventually ends up. The events follow the one bad day principle in that all it takes is one lousy day to turn your life upside down. Combined with his exposure to chemicals, it's the realization that life is inherently unfair and sort of comical that drives him over the edge. His choice to commit crime and his nihilistic worldview is in a way a reaction to what he had to go through. This is also what forms the basis of his relationship with the Batman, the fact that Bruce Wayne also had one bad day and responded in an equally severe but opposite manner to bad fortune. Joker doesn't get why the Batman doesn't think of life as he likes to think of it, a joke. He's constantly trying to show the Batman that his reaction was justified. A passage of his from The Killing Joke sums up his reasons for being a villain quite poignantly. "I've proved my point. I've demonstrated there's no difference between me and everyone else. All it takes is one bad day to reduce the sanest man alive to lunacy. That's how far the world is from where I am. Just one bad day. You had a bad day once, am I right? I know I am. I can tell. You had a bad day and everything changed. Why else would you dress up as a flying rat? You had a bad day, and it drove you as crazy as everybody else. Only you won't admit it. You have to keep pretending that life makes sense, that there's some point to all this struggling. God, you make me want to puke. I mean, what is it with you? What made you what you are? Girlfriend killed by the mob, maybe? Brother carved up by some mugger? Something like that, I bet. Something like that. Something like that happened to me, you know. I'm not exactly sure what it was. Sometimes I remember it one way, sometimes another. If I'm going to have a past, I prefer it to be multiple choice. Ha ha ha. But my point is, I went crazy. When I saw what a black, awful joke the world was, I went crazy as a coot. I admit it. Why can't you? I mean, you're not unintelligent. You must see the reality of the situation. Do you know how many times we've come close to World War III over a flock of geese on a computer screen? Do you know what triggered the last World War? An argument over how many telegraph poles Germany owed its war debt creditors. Telegraph poles. Ha 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 ha. It's all a joke. Everything anybody ever valued or struggled for, it's all a monstrous, demented gag. So why can't you see the funny side? Why aren't you laughing? I also notice that only one of the answers so far have touched upon a commonly accepted notion of the Joker but haven't really gone into it in detail, so I'll answer it from that perspective. Basically, the argument against the Joker being an actual villain is that he isn't actually insane, but rather he suffers from being hypersane. The idea behind the hypersanity thing is that the Joker is so sane that he perceives things differently from everyone else in his reality, or realities if you include the various forms of media he's involved with, and, unlike every other person in those realities, is aware that he's actually in a comic book, a video game, an animated show, a film, or whatever media it is. The fact he's aware of his situation means that with that comes the understanding that none of his actions actually have any legitimate consequences and that he also understands precisely why he exists in those realities. Personally, I prefer the idea of him being hypersane as opposed to him being insane. It fits perfectly with the theme of him being the representation, or embodiment, of chaos, and it explains why in one story arc he can be a laughing, joking prankster and in the next one a maniacal, psychopathic mass murderer. If you view it as the Joker realizing there's no consequences to his actions, then it puts a different perspective on why he'll constantly reinvent himself from one story, or media, to the next. It also changes the perspective of him merely being the villain and gives more credence to the idea of him being simply misunderstood. Basically, he knows that his role in each respective reality is to exist as the antagonist to the protagonist, so all he's doing is performing his given role to great effect. So in a way, rather than being a villain, the Joker views himself as an actor and his worlds are the stage and he just goes about putting on a performance, fully understanding there's no consequence, and he's just going to enjoy performing his role before bringing a new aspect the next time he's called to the stage. So what did you think? Do you agree that Joker is not really a villain, society is? Also check out our cryptocurrency business starter package. This package will allow you to start your own cryptocurrency business. It also includes our Facebook marketing kit. Get yours now while it's still on special for only $10. You can find it linked in the description. Like, share and subscribe for more great content.